Hey there, guys. What's up? My name is Isaiah, and I'm your host here tonight. And you have just tuned in to the 31st episode of CUZZO-OP. I am joined by my cousin, my brother,
Willie, also known as Arrow.
And tonight, we are going to jump into an important movie. Not as important as sometimes it feels, but important in a variety of ways, which we'll jump into Blue Beetle, DC's Blue Beetle. So, Willie, before we even jump into all of this, here we are. We're on the back end of going through all of the DCEU films. We went through everything. And we said at the end of our episode, if you haven't heard, that you feel that Blue Beetle is one of those movies that just shouldn't come out, or if it is going to come out, it should just go straight to streaming. I want to know, are you still in that mentality going into this movie? Set the scene for me on why and what you feel about this movie at this point.
Look, what I had stated was that I believe that this movie, as well as Aquaman, should be digitally released movies instead of movie theater movies. And my reasoning for that is that the public perception of DC is in the toilet. You got articles coming out talking about your movie is a box office failure, and here's another one, and here's another one. That does something to the public perception of what DC heroes and DC comics are. Now, that doesn't speak to the necessary quality of the movie. I don't believe that box office numbers means anything. The Suicide Squad by James Gunn was a box office failure. I just think that people see these big, bold letters saying failure, and they're like, okay, good, I don't need to go see that. I don't need to go watch the next one that comes out. I believe that DC needs to just take a break and wait till Superman or the Batman 2. Let either of those characters be the next character that has a movie from DC Comics. I believe that although I enjoyed the movie and I enjoyed this movie theater experience, this one could have been a digitally released movie. Supposedly it was supposed to be an HBO original digital release, but it wasn't. It was released publicly, and now we're getting these articles that are hurting the public perception of DC.
Yeah, man. I respect that 100%. I think they're a mess right now, bro. I think they're in a mess. I think they're still kind of slowing down. They've been fumbling a lot. We already know that. I feel like this is them fumbling, but still slowing down in the fumbling at the same time so that they can come to a complete halt right before, Gunn's Superman movie comes out and the whole story is rewritten. But I also wanted to start here because I think it's important for our listeners to understand where we're coming from. And it's we know that Aquaman is remaining the same going forward into the new iteration of DCEU. We know it's hinted toward that Jason Momoa would be returning. And I know we've talked about casting decisions, and if you think that every hero should be completely fresh, I think I liked who was chosen for this movie, and that's what I was looking forward to the most going in. I liked who they had chosen, how they had done the story, and the concept of he may come back. So now it's let me come into this with a Doctor Strange expectation. Let me come into this with a little bit of this hero's going to stick around for a bit. So let's hope they stick the landing, and let me give the patience to see how they grow them. And that's what I came into the theater with.
So James has come out and made a lot of confusion surrounding this movie, saying that the film is not a part of his new DC universe, but that Blue Beetle is his first character in the DC universe. So it's this guy, this actor, we might see him again as Blue Beetle, but it's not going to be the one from this movie, or it might be. We don't know. It's confusing. It's unnecessary confusion, really. What he's really doing is waiting to see how successful it is, I feel but it's just unnecessary to confuse people that way. I'm sure that there are some who say that we're overreacting about our confusion, but either way, it's why? Why do it? I think it's good that this movie doesn't do a lot to make a claim about whether or not it is DCEU or the new DC universe. There's nothing tying it to either, so it could be either or, but it's just unnecessary. I don't know. I just feel a little bit off-putting by knowing that this character might not even matter, or his character might, but this movie night, and like that's something else. When people hear these things, they're like, "Oh, so that doesn't matter. So why do I need to go?" But strong point that this movie does have is that it doesn't stick itself in Henry Cavill's Superman universe or in the new Superman universe either.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It makes sense. But I don't know, bro. If we were willing to give Marvel all of this grace and patience to figure out their bullshit, even in phase 4, everything that happened with Disney Plus and how our patience has been tested, we still all are showing up and watching these freaking shows. You feel me? And so when it came to Blue Beetle, it was one of those for me. It was like if DC and Warner Brothers are on a journey and they trying to get this shit right going forward. And this is an unclear, really, how does this connect? Does it connect? I just kind of had this mentality of I'm okay if it does. I'm also okay if it doesn't. Because I want it to. I want him to come back. And I honestly like that they're breaking the rules. I like that, maybe he'll be a character we were introduced to, but the version of him we see, we may not have the same story, or there could be a different story invented. Like, we don't know, bro. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with it because it's DC and DC's trying to figure out what DC's doing. And when they figure it out and it lands, everybody's going to just see this as this was kind of a weird stumble, but at least they got off the ground type shit.
I don't know if it's fair to say what you just said about Marvel, about we're rolling with the punches with them, because Marvel had 10 years of trying to do something and doing it very well, where they had kind of like a safety layer behind them for their punches that they are currently going through right now. And us saying they've done it before, they can do it again. DC hasn't had that. They've been giving people a bad taste since 2013. The last year alone, with Black Adam, Shazam 2, The Flash, and now Blue Beetle, it's bad taste. And the fact is, people are going to show up for a Superman movie because it's Superman. People are going to show up for a Batman movie because it's Batman. So why not let all this bad taste go away? Let people forget about it, move on from it, instead of trying to shove stuff at them the entire time, and just let Superman be the new thing. If Blue Beetle comes back, I'll be happy. If he doesn't come back, I'll be happy. I don't care. And that's my problem with this. I don't care because we don't know. There's nothing solid here. So I hope DC lands. I love DC. I want to see DC succeed more than anything. But it's the fact that I don't care about any of that conversation that says that there's a problem to me. But look, the fact that it doesn't do anything to make itself in one universe over the other is a plus to me, because they can move on or they can take them in. It's just, hopefully one day we can say that this was just that little bump in the road, like you said, bro.
Yeah. I'm hearing what you're saying, man. I think this is around the time where we should just jump right into the movie itself, right? And we usually go through a couple of different pillars that we follow the flow of conversationally. For those who may be new here at CUZZO-OP, we usually jump into like the sound and the score, and then we'll touch on cinematography next, then jump into some of the script and the narrative, then acting, and then lastly, we usually land on themes, even though themes make their way into each piece anyways, right? This is one of those movies, man, where I don't even want to freestyle. I actually want to follow these pillars, because I'll just be straight up. The movie was good in terms of like, I enjoyed my experience. It was a fun one. But is this one of those movies that you're just like, oh, you must see it? Depends on who you are. And so I just want to jump right in, like sound and score, bro. When it comes to the music chosen for this movie, soundtrack songs, in terms of like not just soundtrack, score, background music, all that good stuff. Like what did you think? What did you feel about this part of the movie?
Look, I'm just gonna be honest, bro. I haven't looked into it because it left no reason for me to. I enjoy hearing Spanish music be put at the forefront because this movie is about a Spanish dude and a Spanish family. But that's about it, bro. Like, the one moment that maybe stood out was, I believe I heard Michael Jackson's Blame It on the Boogie in Spanish in this movie. But other than that, like, The sound did nothing extraordinary to me, and the music just it's cool to hear, and I'm sure that people that understand it might have felt some type of way. I just know that I wasn't the right audience member for it, you know. Yeah, I don't know if we want to talk about it now or later when we talk acting, but I guess the scarab, well, I didn't like it. I didn't like the scarab's voice. I didn't like the way it sounded, and yeah, I don't know. It just didn't match a vibe that I felt like it should have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree big time. That's crazy. Yeah, man. I just don't think that there's much to talk about. Soundtrack was cool. Listen, I want to also say shout outs to my boy George. You know, he's my Mexican homeboy. You feel me? That I met down here. I moved down here to Texas, and we went and saw this movie together. And so there are certain pieces of my experience that I got to honestly enjoy him enjoying his experience essentially, because whenever there was a nod to his culture, which was obviously the one of the strongest, if not the strongest point of this movie. It's almost like you went into a movie looking at a Mexican heritage based movie that one guy happens to be a superhero. It's almost like you could look at it like that instead of it being the other way around. All that being said, I saw him watch it, and he enjoyed it very much. There was a lot of things that he felt was cheesy, but he really appreciated it. Pieces of the sound were one of the biggest things for him in the beginning because he heard songs he grew up listening to. So it took him back home, and I can imagine there are a bunch of other listeners or viewers, I should say, that had similar experience. So that's cool.
The one surprise that I guess I had was that the song from the original trailer, I just want to rock, it wasn't in the movie unless it was like after the credits or something. It just wasn't here. I was surprised by that, but yeah, I have nothing to say about this section really. So I mean, I'm ready to move on.
Sure, no, for sure. Bet. So let's even just move on to some of the visuals here, right? Here's typical superhero movie. A lot of CGI, a lot of big booms and sounds, like we talked about here. But is there anything that stood out to you? Are there shots in terms of like photography shots that you actually thought were pretty good? How about like the design of the suit? Like, what about these pieces? Did you enjoy any of it, or did it all just feel like ordinary, mediocre superhero stuff?
I thought that the suit was spectacular because it's real. The actor is wearing the suit. It's not the pajamas that get CGI'd over afterwards. I thought that was great. I liked the city. I like that DC Comics have their own created universes that allow them to do whatever they want with their cities and create a very energetic and lively place that mixes other cultures and stuff together. I love that. But besides that, nothing in the movie really stuck with me. Like, I didn't walk out of the movie theater thinking about a particular shot or a particular transition or anything like that. But the suit and the city, those were like the big parts for me, I guess, from this production area.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. I feel you. There were a couple of shots for me that I did enjoy. More memorable one was when he sees his dad when he's near death, and all of the candles, and that's that moment that they have together. I thought that was a very beautiful scene, a very touching scene.
You know what? I'll give it to you. That one was dope, yeah, but everything around it just didn't. It didn't help that its case. Like, it didn't help that particular moment become memorable.
Sue, I agree with you on. I think the way his face looks with the half broken toward the back end of the movie, weird. Like, it just kind of looked a little off putting. But I don't know if they like that. I don't know.
That particular moment, it did look very wonky. It looked very fake. But I really just think that the mask overall looked a little big. So my favorite moments of the movie were where he didn't have his mask on, but the rest of the suit. I thought that looked good.
I was like, what's going on right now? Right. I'm trying to think of other points in this topic. I think just like cinematography wise, another point that made an impression on me was when we see, I don't even remember his name. That's unfortunate. But the bad guy who's in the OTEC, or what is it, the OMEC suit. He's Guatemalan. He's Guatemalan, right? And when the scarab shows the memories of his childhood and it uploads into or is displayed for Jaime, they do a backwards montage of his life. Usually when you see somebody's life, you always see it front to back. You see them when they're young and how they got old. but there was something about the style of that where they went from his last couple moments all the way back to his first moments, where the last thing you see is him as a boy and his mom being blown up by the bomb. And you're like, dang, that was kind of cool. Like, I had never seen it before. So for me, I was like, kudos. Y'all gave some kudos. You showing your style, director. You know what I mean? I see you. That's cool.
Yeah, technique wise, yeah, it's unique, it's cool, but its placement in the movie takes me out of it all. It doesn't make me appreciate that as much. It's not integrated well.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm just saying, technique wise, very tough. My boy George and I were like, "Yo, that was actually pretty cool." But yeah, man, I think it's time to just jump right into the story itself. Like, we've got a story of a Hispanic young man who left his little slice of life to go try to become someone, graduates from Gotham, which is kind of wild. I like that little Gotham shout out with the hoodie. Come on, bro. You can't say that wasn't getting you geeked. We were like, oh, shoot, is that the Gotham hoodie? That's fire. Anyways, he comes back from college and he feels like the weight of his family is on his back. He's trying to make something of his life and he becomes a superhero. Basically, is how it goes down. So, like, that story in itself, what did you like? What did you not like? Go ahead, like, rip it up and poke it up, bro. Give me the cons first and then give me the pros, and I'll jump in with my pros and cons.
Well, I mean, the first thing that I want to say is I just I don't know if I appreciated or liked the way Jaime was being played throughout the movie. I feel like there were times where he felt very in line with what the movie was telling me his character was as a 22-year-old college graduate. But there are times where I felt like the acting or the writing for the character made him feel a lot younger than what I imagine a 22-year-old to be. Now, it might be me being disillusioned from what that age is, but like, I'm 23 right now, and I felt like I was watching a 16-year-old for a lot of the movie. Just knowing what these like 16-year-olds, like your sister and all that, like how they are now. That's what I was kind of getting throughout the movie. But I just I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't know. That took me out a little bit.
I think what it was for me, and I saw it immediately, was that he was Cobra Kai. He was Cobra Kai the set. He was on some Disney type timing in terms of the way he was playing the character, very animated, very like there's just a lot of moments where he's flailing his arms and his hands and shit and so it's like I think that all plays a role for sure.
Another thing that I felt was that whether it be because of his acting or because of the way they just had the movie framed with the family being such a big deal, is I don't think we saw enough of Jaime. I actually think that he gets drowned out a little bit, too much with everything going on in the movie and everything that they wanted to deliver to us. I wish we would have seen more of him. I think that that's a huge con for me, that this Blue Beetle movie didn't really feel much like a Blue Beetle movie. Yeah, so
I'm hearing you, bro, but I think that's the point. Like, this was what it was. I left the theater. I got to keep taking it back. I left the theater and I've got my own predispositions, but then after I'm standing out there and George is talking to me about his life, his experiences, and how he can relate to so much. And one of the things that he said was that family is forever and family often comes first, right? And he was saying, culturally, think about yourself as a Hispanic. Doesn't matter if you're Mexican or not. There is certain levels to that where it's like, it's almost family is too much first. Too first. So he was saying that the family being upfront and that being the case kind of fits the narrative of this culture being depicted in film. And I was like, that's true. Like, if he was too pronounced, would it have landed as much culturally? And that is a point. I was like, in a film that we know, we're not going to see this guy ever again. Like, in terms of, this may not be his background story. We might get a fresh, like, DC can take the data from this movie and say, all right, this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to do this. We're going to do more of that. And we're going to lean into that. Who's a director that can do, oh, we know exactly who should, you know what I mean? Like, and that's cool. And so I look at it and I'm like, I like you can tell that the Hispanic director that made this movie had a message he wanted to talk about and his story. And I think that that's why the story is crafted like that. That's how I perceived it.
But to move on, a con that I have, besides everything that I mentioned so far, is that the superhero aspects of this movie are painfully average. Like everything outside of the family is so average that this got to be the most average superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. Like nothing about it feels special outside of the family. Nothing about it feels original. It like I don't know why. It was fun to watch with my family, like I said earlier. And walking out of the theater, my dad goes, "There wasn't a lot of action sequences in that movie," and I'm like, you know what? You're right. And the ones that were there didn't feel memorable in any way or special in any way. There was one that almost got me, but I didn't like the road that we took to get there, and so it didn't really feel anything to me. But like in superhero movies and just in movies in general, as more things come out, the genre is gonna begin to feel similar, right? And you can take steps to make yours feel more unique and special. And I don't know if this one did that, and I'm okay with movies being similar to other movies. That's just part of the genre. But your execution needs to be good. Great. This one wasn't. This one just felt like it was done.
Yeah, man. I think that's always been DC's issue, bro. I think it's always been DC's issue because I think Warner Brothers really has a commercial agenda that stops the creative exploration, and I would be interested and impressed to be like a fly on the wall amidst the process to see how many creative decisions that might have wanted to be made didn't make it to the other end of the production floor. But on top of that, bro, like again, like they throwing this away. So it's like so average and it's like, okay, like it's better than a lot of what Marvel's putting out right now. There are some trash Marvel TV shows that have come out, and this is better than that. It's more fun to watch, more enjoyable, a better experience. And I had the same thing to say about Flash. You feel me?
I mean, yeah, you know what? Like, the movie is fun. It is. I'm not saying that it's not. It's actually enjoyable, but it's enjoyable in the family moments, not the superhero Blue Beetle big capital letter moments. Those moments feel very slowly paced, that a lot of times predictable, discombobulated. Like it feels like it hits all of those little bothersome things for me. So I want to hear some of your stuff because I think it might be better if I talk off of you in these aspects, because like my real two sentences for this movie are: it's a fun movie with the family, and it's a painfully average superhero movie. So let me hear your points.
Here's what I liked about the movie. What I liked about the movie, what was some pros for me, was I liked the concept of the family piece as a Hispanic, yes, but also just as a lover of some writing. It's a great. I think the family is really cool. Here's how. This is what my boy George opened my eyes to too. It's like you've got the family is forever thing. Almost like there's too much family in moments that are like, shouldn't Blue Beetle be the Blue Beetle? Like you just said, right? Like the grandma tapping back to her old freedom fighter days. It's like he really can't defeat the enemy without the assistance of his family. And they're really trying to put that up in your face the whole time, right? And that was cool. It was cool. It was very cool. Again, like you said, I wish I got some more Blue Beetle beat down, but I don't know. They weren't ready for that. Maybe the CGI wasn't ready for that. I don't know, bro. I don't really know. All I know is here's what slapped. George was like, "Yo, bro, what superhero story have you seen where the accepting of the suit, the powers, the change happens in front of everyone?" And I was like, that's kind of fire. He's right. Because Batman's identity is a secret. Spider-Man's identity is supposed to be a secret. Everyone becomes this being and has to hide it. And in this movie, we see a superhero who becomes this being in front of his whole family to the point where he's actually naked in front of them as a result. And I thought that scene went on for so long. I was like, so awkward. Like, why are we watching him transform for like 5 minutes? Like, this is man weird. Again, it wasn't the best movie. But at the end of the day, that point was landing when George was saying, bro, that's how it is. Think about it. As a Hispanic man, how much of your life could you really have secret? Didn't everything feel like everyone has to know every detail of what's going on? And I'm like, That's facts. So boom, here's another piece and another place where this concept of the family goes deeper. There are some deeper things done during the narrative that I'm like, again, man, if you look at it like a family movie with a superhero twist instead of a superhero movie with a family twist, you're like, okay, I like that.
I mean, look, man, we already said it. Like the family aspects and all of the things that you just described, like they carry the movie to the finish line. Because without them, this movie feels like nothing. Like, so I understand that whole aspect of being exposed within the family, right? You know, we're both Puerto Rican. We both know how it feels to kind of have claws digging at every aspect of our life. You know, I just it does the work to carry it to the finish line, but it's not enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my big pieces, and I know I just asked for your point, but like the scarab, bro, that's what comes back to me where I'm like, the scarab and his relationship or its relationship to Jaime is something I wish was explored. And I said it earlier, I didn't like the scarab in this movie because I felt like it was clearly influenced by Jarvis or Friday from the MCU rather than some creepy haunting thing that's picking away at Jaime, right? So by the end of the movie, when that whole flip happens, I don't feel it the way it should be felt because they didn't feel like they were enemies going against each other, not understanding one another. They've had like 3 interactions in this movie that made me feel like, okay, they're doing something there. So the scarab was a big deal to me. Yeah, I don't know. The family, like, it does a lot, and I'm recognizing that. But ugh.
Yeah, man. I think the scarab that would be. I don't know about it being scary to him. I just feel like it just was an afterthought. It felt like an afterthought. I just wish it was more front and center in terms of the conversations that they have with one another. There's even more, I feel like there's more scenes where he's like talking to himself in front of another character and they're like, what? And he's like, no, I'm not talking to you. Then there are actual moments where the two of them legit conversate with one another and connect. Like it's all happening amidst an action scene or it's happening amidst this development in the story. There's never enough like time given to that. And when it's like supposed to be 50-50, bro, he only has the powers because of the damn scarab, dog.
Bro, just being real, like the movie feels half baked. Like they put all their love and soul into the family side of things that they forgot to cook the other half. So it's just like the water is halfway filled up the glass here, and it's easy to tell.
Yeah, man, I hear that. Another piece, I'd say, I don't know if I feel pro or con about this. I just say I saw it and I noticed it right from the beginning. The whole Victoria Accord colonizer theme, um, it's so in your face the whole time that I don't know how I feel about it. Like,
Bro, they didn't do anything to layer it or give it depth or anything like that. It's just like, here's what it is in your face, and that's it. Like, there's no complexity given to it.
yeah, there was no nuance, and I just didn't understand why. But at the same time, like it's also like maybe they want that to be as straight up as it is so that then again like you said the depth it's really what you said, the depth of the family led to laziness in other areas of the movie. There really is no other way to look at it. I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
It's sad, right? Because it's like I really just feel like every time that they could have done something different, they just decided to say, yeah, let's just keep it going to the way that it always is. And it's like we've said it before on Secret Invasion with other topics. Like, is it a creative choice to do it that way? Yes. Is it a good choice as part of the conversation? I just feel like they were either lazy or they were just like, let's just be very in your face about it all. So that nuance thing you said earlier definitely hit the key. And yeah, I mean, we'll get to the villain with Susan Sarandon later, but I just didn't like her here. I just didn't feel like she mattered as much as she should have. Like, honestly, I thought it was kind of bad.
Yeah, but I also liked there were some scenes though. Actually, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. There are some scenes that I'm like, okay, they're trying to do something, but one, I don't like her, and two, I don't like the way they're having her do her. She has like that whole point of I'm fixing you. I fix you. And the concept of the colonizer fixing what was never broken, like that kind of a concept, it becomes an additional backbone to the family narrative because the family stands strong and sturdy amidst what should break them, you know? And then at the same time, there's this point of like white savior. We got the white savior narrative that's popping out. So there's a little bit of nuance in some lines, like when he's talking to when she's talking to the Guatemalan man, and she's saying, "I'll fix you." The first time, you're like, "Oh, okay, they could do something with that." But when she brings it back again the second time, and she's like, "I'm using the same card once more," I'm like, "Damn it, I hate y'all. Why couldn't you go deeper, bro?"
You know what really made the movie enjoyable for me, dude, is watching it with my siblings and my family, because it was through them that I think I got more enjoyment from it. And I enjoyed the movie. Like, I know I'm down talking it in the areas where we've discussed, but like that's just how it is. Like the enjoyment that they had from it helped me throughout the theater experience even more.
I feel that, and that's I think what happened with me too, with watching with George. Um, there's an appreciation in that somewhere, right? But when you have to look for it elsewhere because the experience for you, it's just, it's like what? How many other people feel like this type of deal, and that's unfortunate. I mean, you look online and it's got like a 97% Rotten Tomatoes user score with over 12,000 reviews from a bunch of random people just talking about how they love the movie, and it's like interesting because there are some people that like it, but as you said earlier in this episode, the statistics don't lie. They've spent $100 million on this movie and they've only made not even a quarter of it back. So it's a tough thing, man. It's really a tough thing.
Look, I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes score and all that, like I know that when I give out a number rating, my first number rating is always going to be how I thought of the movie on a technical level, with thinking about acting, cinematography, sound, like all of those things. It's never really like personal, and if it is, it's maybe like a 1%. And then the next time I say my thing on Letterboxd, it's always going to be my personal rating. So, those 90s, I'm sure those are the personal ratings. I'm sure there are people that would give it that 90, and I won't fault them for it. But I know that both on a technical and personal level, it's not a 90 for me. But you could listen on to hear our thoughts at the end, obviously. But I want to talk about some of the things that I did like, and it's going to bring us into actor territory. George Lopez was great. Star of the movie for me. He made me laugh hysterical. He was just great. I loved everything about him in this movie, and I was afraid that he was gonna be cheesy. I thought they were just shoehorning George Lopez in originally when I saw the trailer, that we needed a Spanish actor that people are gonna know and go tune in for, and they were gonna laugh at, and George Lopez is that guy, and I was afraid that that's what he was gonna be. Nah, he was great in this movie. I very much appreciate him being there.
Yeah, bro. Absolute. I think they gave him all the time to be. He's the one that made me laugh. He was the one that made me pay attention. He's the one that I felt like was impactful in the main character's story. Like they wrote the crap out of his meaning in this movie. You know what I mean? It really feels like he's meaningful. I would argue that if there's any character we see a lot on screen that's not Jaime, it's George Lopez. You feel me?
Another actor in the movie that I really did enjoy was Damien Alcazar. He was Jaime's father. He was great in the roles, like in the beginning of the movie where him and Jaime are speaking outside of their house, and he's like, "I don't know what my purpose is yet, but I'm gonna find it, and you're gonna find yours." Or even at the end, with a scene that we briefly spoke about with the candles, like it was good. But it's unfortunate to say that I didn't feel the death scene as hard as I think I should have. And I don't know why, because I'm usually very tapped into death scenes, and maybe it's just it wasn't done well. Uh, I think death scenes require more than just a screaming child and a lot of chaotic nature happening. I think that there needs to be a weight there that I didn't feel. And like, I'm tapped in. Like I feel the death scenes. When I'm really in there, I'm in there. I'm crying, tearing up, all of that. Gears 3, I was there. So it's not like I'm just blind or empty to death scenes in movies. No, I feel them. And I was very disappointed to not feel something. But Damien Alcazar, he did good besides that.
It's unfortunate, man. I think Damien Alcazar did a great job. We know he's a legend. He did beautiful job. Again, that scene with the candles and them getting to finish that conversation and be on the other end of basically in the afterlife, practically. It's an interesting concept that they did there.
It's definitely great. It's obviously a trope that's been done before, and I wonder if I would have felt it more had I not just seen it in Guardians 3 with Rocket Raccoon.
they're copying. They're definitely inspired by my man Gunn. Come on, if Gunn's taking over, you don't think we're gonna see some work from Gunn somewhere in here? I wouldn't even be surprised if he gave suggestions on certain pieces at some point in the production pipeline.
I mean, look, I phrased it earlier, dude. I hope that they can learn how to shake it up a little bit in the creative style instead of just falling to tropes and not executing them in ways that make it feel special. I'm not asking you to break the wheel or reinvent the wheel of creativity. I'm just asking that you roll the wheel nicely. And you got any positives, bro? Because I'm falling here, bro. Any other actors?
Yeah, like so far we're saying we like George Lopez, Damien Alcazar. What they had to work with wasn't enough, but at the end of the day, we like them. But what about Zolo? What do you think about Zolo? You saying that you didn't get enough Zolo? You felt like Zolo was acting too little? Like, what's up?
I was excited for him. Like I said earlier, I just felt like he played it a little too young. Didn't see enough of him. It's just all of those for him. Like if we see him again, that'd be great. Again, the actor felt very excited. I love the energy he was bringing. But if we don't see him again, I'm not gonna feel a major loss either. I really do think that that Cobra Kai acting that you kind of said earlier probably played a big role in that. And I haven't seen that show, but yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because when you watch him in interviews, my man makes music, he raps. It's interesting to see his persona and then how he goes in this bag. Like, why? I don't understand that. But
if he played Jaime the way he was in all of the interviews I've seen him in, I have no doubt I would have liked his character a lot more.
I think Adriana, Nana in the movie, she did a great job too. She was one of the stealers of the show toward the back end.
Oh, Nana was great, no doubt. I know that she's a novela legend apparently, and yeah, she was mad fun. I loved every scene that she was in. Her and George Lopez, they was doing some backpacking for the movie. What did you think of Bruna, bro? Because I honestly thought that she was just okay.
Bro, I got to talk about her. I thought she was terrible. Now, listen, she is actually a Brazilian telenovela star. And I feel like she had a hard time with the language shift. And so there are a lot of moments in the movie where it doesn't feel organic because it almost feels like she's wrestling to get her, not just her lines off, but also like how it's supposed to feel to get her lines off. And so there are just a lot of awkward moments, and with her in particular, that she kept taking me out of it. I'm like, yo, she's kind of whack. Like, in my opinion, she's kind of whack. And that's part of what also made me upset because a lot of the scenes that we don't get to get Zolo alone is because she's on the screen. And so it's like, damn, bro, not only do I not get enough of him, but I'm losing him to scenes that I don't really think are that great, in my opinion.
I don't think calling her terrible is fair. I think she was just mid, bro. I mean, that's really it. Who I did think was terrible, though? Susan Sarandon. I thought she was terrible. Did you like her in this movie?
Nah, not at all, bro. Susan Sarandon is so bad in this movie, bro. But it's almost like, again, man, she was set up to be bad. Like I don't know how you do that well, to be honest. Like she's just a terribly written character. She's horrendous. Some of our grade A actors could come take this role, and even then, they still would kind of be mid pack, bro.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think anybody could have saved the writing of this role. But there are some actors who have the ability to take terribly written roles and at least save some of it. And I don't think she did. I'm willing to put some of the blame on Susan Sarandon. It felt like she was here for a paycheck and not even a really good paycheck. It just felt like she came in, read her lines, and dipped. Like, that's it. There was nothing there for me.
I feel you, bro. I mean, it's tough, I guess. I look at her, bro, and she's an Oscar-winning actress. You know what I mean? Like she's a legend. She's done some pretty insane accomplishments in her career. So it's like I still land on the point of y'all set her up for failure. You know what I mean? Like that's just where I land at. It's these newer folks that couldn't write a proper story for my girl who's an Oscar winner. You're an idiot. There's really nothing else to say. That's where it lands for me personally. I understand you though. Respect.
Jared Leto's an Oscar winner, bro, and say what you want about him. Any other characters? Because I got like two more.
There's really not too many other characters to even mention beyond this. I mean, again, the Carapax guy, whatever, super forgettable. Unfortunate they did him like that.
Stereotypical muscle villain, bro.
Blue Beetle's mom is just kissing all foreheads the whole flick. Very forgettable. The sister was funny. In the beginning, she was funnier, and then eventually it kind of felt like she was trying too hard. But it makes sense. That makes sense because of what we said earlier. And that's really it, man. Dr. Sanchez with the Esteban Julio Vaccaro Montoya de la Rosa Cortez moment was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
that's really it. It's over. The movie's over. You walk out the theater, you're not thinking about anything. You don't even want to stay for the end credit scene. You heard there's a mid credit scene. You don't even want to stay for it because it's just like you don't even want to stay though.
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know if there was like an end credit scene. We saw the mid one because we were standing up to leave when that popped up. But you know, maybe there'll be a second one. It's sad that the mom was forgettable, bro. It's sad about all of it, bro. The sister was funny to me, but that's just because she reminded me of my sister, like a lot. But even then, like I agree with you that it was a little bit too much. But yeah, it's just a shame that so many of these characters are forgettable. Like, just disappointment. That's what comes to mind when I'm really thinking about this movie. Even though I did enjoy it, bro.
Before we completely conclude this, because there's really nothing else to talk about here. We done beat the movie with a dang stick. Your score. What's your score? I give this movie a 6.5. When I first walked out, I thought maybe I'd give it a 7, especially on the back end of that conversation with George. But then I've let it sit, and I think it's like a 6.5. It's like I think that's right there in that average area. You feel me?
I can do the whole point this and point that thing, but on Letterboxd, I can't do the points, bro. I can only do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And with my point for this movie, I gotta go up or down. I'm going down. This movie's a 6 out of 10 for me. There are things in it that I think it does better than The Flash, which Flash was a 7. But the overall averageness of this movie, this being one of the most average superhero movies I've seen, yeah, it's a 6, bro. It is a 6. You know, I want to ask, because when you walked out of the theater, you were like, I enjoyed this much more than The Flash. After sitting on it, how do you feel? Do you think you enjoyed it more than The Flash?
I enjoyed The Flash more. It was fun, man. It was fun to go through The Flash. And maybe it's because it's a rigged game. And when you put multiverse in a movie, you automatically are supercharging it with a concept. Maybe. There are certain rules they get to play by in that movie that they didn't get to play by in this one. This is just a simple origin story. But at the end of the day, yeah, fun-wise, Flash for sure. 6.5 for this movie for me. And if I had to pick a number that's solid, maybe we should just go with solid numbers going forward, huh? I'd say a 6. For all the reasons you just said, and because I'm disappointed that it could have been something more, and because it's like, if you knew this could be a quote-unquote throwaway, why not kind of like get a little funky, come out the box, have even more of a fresh twist? And I know that that's what some of the critics are saying. Some of the critics are saying that it brings some fresh twists to the superhero flow or the superhero story. I didn't think they brought enough. They needed more.
Absolutely. Now, before we like super duper conclude this, I just want to say, like, at the end of the day, it's a live action Spanish superhero movie. I liked things in the movie that related to that Spanish heritage, being a Puerto Rican kid in a Puerto Rican family. Grandma telling him, yo, put this Vicks on. I related to that heavily, bro. This was meaningful for me to see my little brother like this character. It was dope as hell. We haven't had a live action Spanish superhero solo movie in a really long time, and I hope that we get more because of this. So, like, what did you think of that whole aspect? And I know that you talked with your friend and all that, so like, how are we feeling about this?
You know, word to everything else I've said earlier, I just think the Hispanic story being up in one of my boys, actually George, cracked a joke about how he's like, this is our Black Panther. And I started dying because I was like, that is such a dramatic statement. That's so wild. Like, but it's true. There is a Hispanic force that's met in this movie, that's made for this movie. I love that they did what they did. The family aspect. It's the reason why the family aspect lands, actually, which is something to be said, right? And that Vicks, Papo.
You can't beat the Vicks, y'all. If you feeling that stuffy nose or that headache, bro, put the Vicks wherever you need to, bro. It's gonna heal it. That's grandma's remedy.
That, and then grandma in the back with the sewing machine also had me sent to the roof. I was laughing at that. It was special, man. It was very special. I mean, but again, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, we finally get a live action, I know it's different and I know it's been a while, but what they're doing with Miles Morales and all the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movies has also been great, you know, and that's another big space, another big place that the Hispanic hero is up there. And so it's cool to see that we're taking over in some of these ways, you feel me? And we're getting representation. So love that.
You know, all we could do is hope that the next one is better. You know what I'm saying? We gotta hope that the next one ain't just super average put together. We gotta hope that it's that Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse level of love, you know? No hate to the director, because I know he loved everything he put into this movie, but it just came out super average to me. And unfortunately, because of this whole CUZZO-OP thing, I know that Isaiah gonna make me watch that Aquaman, which I really don't want to, but I'm gonna do it because we CUZZO-OP and we there. I just hope that it's not super average, but it's gonna be worse. I know that, but you know, we'll be there.
Yes, sir. CUZZO-OP. You can always depend on us to watch what you may not want to. And we'll give you a breakdown of if it's worth it. Nah, listen. We all win no matter what's going down when it comes to these movies. They're experiences for us to kind of walk into. So we're glad that we got to break this one down for you as our listeners. If you've got some thoughts on The Flash or even on Blue Beetle, where DC's headed, we'd love to hear from you down in the comment section of our YouTube videos. Also, don't hesitate to respond to our question here if you're listening on Spotify. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go find us on someplace. We're on one of those too. We'd love to hear from the community on what we thought here, because if there's so many people in the community of movies and cinema that think this is a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, be interested to hear some of your takes too. But we thank you so much for listening to the 31st episode of CUZZO-OP. We've got some more coming. The month of September, the rest of the month is already stacked. So is October. We've got a lot of things in mind that we're looking forward to chatting about and having you listen. So know that every time you listen to an episode of CUZZO-OP, what you're going to find is two cousins, one podcast, endless entertainment. Peace.